All right. I believe this means we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tech fans of all shapes and sorts and sizes and persuasions, welcome to another Monday morning tech chat show on the SGGQA podcast channel. I am Juan Carlos Bagnell, some gadget guy, the SGG of this terribly named series of podcasts. And the QA stands for question and answer because I like to host this in an interactive forum where we can have a conversation. I like to host my podcast on a Monday so we can take time to dig through news stories of the last week, any breaking news over the weekend, sort out our feels. And I'm already seeing a phenomenal live chat. Matt Tyler, Charlie Spirit Song. Everyone say hey to Steve. Steve got a new job. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to join some of our recent podcasts, but holiday Monday, he was able to join us today. So tons of people here already ready to jump in and chat about some cool tech and some cool news. I'm seeing some Periscope folks. I'm seeing one person on Mixer. So hey there, Mixer, if you're watching, you can drop a comment, say hey. Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to be chatting out some breaking news, some Samsung security news. We're going to be kind of digging through all of our feelings on one of the worst kept secrets in tech, which is finally going to be officially announced tomorrow, courtesy of Google. We've got some Facebook news. We've got some Google and politics news. And then I've got some other topics that I want to share that we can chat out, some changes to the show, and then also some changes that are going to be coming to how I do things like run contests. So I know my podcasts can run super long, but I might have something to give away during this broadcast, and I'm going to be changing up my rules on how I do things like giveaways. If you were on the Patreon, this is something we also discussed on our State of the Patreon over the weekend. So I had like the shareholders meeting where all of the patrons get together, we do a live stream, and we chat out what's going to be coming down the pipe. We're going to talk about future device reviews, future content, and then one of the things we talked about was a new strategy for giveaways. So I think we've got some cool stuff to jump into. I'm hoping my voice will hold out. It did during the State of the Patreon broadcast on Saturday, but as you might have been keeping up with in the news, we've been having a ton of fires down here in Southern California. My family wasn't anywhere near evac or in any danger, but when you're in the valley is basically a big bowl. So if anything happens somewhat in the valley, like a fire, all of that smoke just sort of settles down into the whole valley. I shared a photo on Instagram where you could just see this like wall strip of smoke that was in my neck of the woods. Blue skies up above you, but it just kind of came rolling in like fog. So where 3 weeks ago I was sick, 2 weeks ago my air conditioner busted. This last week we had fires. We were very lucky and very fortunate that all of our family and friends who were closer to the fires, none of them were evacuated, and we were just working to coordinate with some other people that we were concerned about, like TK Bay. Not to like, talk out all of his personal stuff, but I was in contact with TK, man. If you need anything, you can jet down here. You can come crash with us. Really, that becomes one of the things where you get that sense of just how neighborly this community can be in Southern California, and just running logistics and trying to help people out. It's scary stuff. And there's no guarantee that something might not happen in the hills near our house that we might need to bug out very, very quickly. And hopefully there's a neighbor that's ready to help us out too. So you just want to make sure you're paying that same energy forward. So with terrible air quality, I'm actually running an air filter in the office right now, which hopefully isn't going to be too loud. I don't think anyone can hear it, but I'm hoping that my voice doesn't just completely futz out by the end of this. What I might do is actually, I'm going to move the mic just a little closer. And while I'm going to keep a smile on my face, I'm going to do more of my ASMR voice. How's that? So let me take another sip of water here. That's actually going to suck, is having the mic closer while I sip water means that you're going to get... Oh, hold on, let's do this. All right? Oh, that sounded disgusting. Okay. Let's get into some housekeeping. Oh, Charlie Spirit song. You don't hear any hum from the air filter. Good. It's on its lowest setting. I just need some. Air purification in here. So Kyle Ruggles, moist. Kiwi Mad Dog, gross. It is. It's what human biology is. So to escape the smoke, the family and we went and saw Abominable. Because my daughter's turning 4, and it seemed like a movie that she would be interested in, and it just reinforced like how much I just despise movie theater audiences. We're in an audience packed full of kids. So you expect, crinkles and wrappers and boxes and chewing and all this other stuff. The kids weren't the problem. The kids were into the movie. We were on the right-hand side of the theater because we got our tickets late. Across the opposite side of the theater, a woman was horse troughing popcorn, chewing through an open mouth, and you could hear it over the speakers in the theater being so loud. I don't understand how one person can make so much noise chewing, but that open maw breathing through the same mouth with a full mouth of popcorn, just the most revolting thing I've ever heard. So I like to share a sense of that during my podcast by putting the mic right in front of my face and eating and chewing and drinking. I promise you I will never eat in front of this microphone. All right, let's get into some housekeeping. Matt Tyler, the next week is a Joker review. Again, unfortunately, if I do a movie review channel right now, it's only going to be movies that I can take my daughter to. So really lit up about Abominable. That was the feel-good hit of the early fall. Okay, let's go into a screen share here. We've got quite a bit of housekeeping. Like I said, from last week's podcast to this week's show, I've been putting out something almost every day and trying to catch up. And this is something we talked about a lot during the State of the Patreon, was maybe shifting some of this production to more written reviews and more written content. Especially editorials, where it's fun to put up a video kind of expressing what I want to talk about, but if I get off my production track just a little bit, it takes me weeks to catch up. So we had a lot of cool stuff go out. Unfortunately, some of it got buried. Going back into a screen share here. First, the day last Monday after the podcast, I still put out a review of the Creative Outlier Gold True Wireless Earbuds. $100, and they are some of the longest lived true wireless buds I've ever used, up to 14 hours of battery life, and then some other fun software tricks for 3D audio manipulation. You can check out that review on SomeGadgetGuy.com. It was another audio heavy week because the other major review I put out was the ATH G1WL. Audio-Technica's $250 premium wireless gaming headset. And this is an extremely impressive piece of kit with a hard focus on gamers and going wireless. So I'm very proud of this review. The entire review was done on the microphone built into the G1WL. This is exciting watching. I mean, we've been seeing this for a while. Traditional audio manufacturers taking gaming gear more seriously. Sennheiser puts out some great gaming headsets. Audio-Technica has been putting out some really solid gaming headsets. And now they're starting to incorporate really lag-free premium wireless connections too. So if any manufacturer really has the wherewithal to put together a high-quality audio input, audio output, wearable experience, it's a company like Audio-Technica. And this is a premium headset. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's one of the lower-cost solutions I've been able to find for a PC gamer to cut the cord and not sacrifice sound quality. So if you've been looking at some of these other, like I love my Sennheiser GSPs, but those are $100 more expensive. Not necessarily for audio quality. They're $100 more expensive for some bells and whistles that you might not need. So I really like Audio-Technica's take on getting to the point, streamlining this and getting you right to gaming audio. It's a very specific focus. So I hope more people will check that out. I'm going to be sharing that video a lot more just because it got buried on YouTube. One video that's actually doing surprisingly well considering the manufacturer, my LG V50 long-term review. This is the sleeper phone of the year. LG V50. This phone is an absolute monster performer. And very few outlets are talking about it. I mean, like, I got to give a shout out to Jason over at Painfully Honest Tech, because he got one before I could get my hands on one. And same thing, like, he did a video. Now, mind you, Jason did play the SEO game. If I'm going to call out Painfully Honest Tech, his LG V50 review is titled Why I'm Sending Back. No, not his review, his follow-up video. He did a review on the V50 and then he did a follow-up. But his follow-up on the V50 is titled Galaxy Note. Why I'm sending back the Galaxy Note. A little clickbaity, if you ask me. But he does it well. He wears it well. I'm trying to think, excuse me. I'm really trying to rack my brain. Who else has been sharing videos on that? I loaned my V50 out to TK so he could shoot some stuff on it. I'm going to be loaning my V50 out to, there's a podcaster who's also going to be in the roundup here for Housekeeping. He's a young kid out of Texas who's trying to do a tech podcast. He's got a OnePlus 7. I mean, like, it's hard. It's really difficult getting your hands on one of these things as a reviewer, and then also just what markets this phone is really being sold and stocked in. And it's a shame because for all of the things that we might praise a Samsung or an iPhone 11 for, this phone is just an absolute beast. And it's sort of the mid-pack solution for a 5G radio. I know that's not particularly exciting, and a lot of folks who flip their phones aggressively probably won't find much benefit out of that. But if you compare a V50 at $999 against an iPhone 11 Pro at $999, and not a Pro Max, mind you, we're saying at $1,000, the V50 is going to double the storage. It's going to have a much higher resolution display. It's going to have the ability to add more storage via a memory card. It's got a lot of the same perks for 4K 60 frame per second, software stabilized video, ultra smooth video. It's got better mics. It's got an audiophile grade headphone jack, which would easily cost you $300 to $400 to replace with some kind of standalone digital audio player or like a Dragonfly. There are some serious perks to this phone, and it's got a 5G radio. So if you think you might hold on to the phone for a couple years, it's a safer buy than an iPhone 11 Pro IMO. So I've got my sort of thoughts on that. Again, there's a lot of LG philosophy in that where they could be doing better with software updates, and their regional strategy is kind of a mess. It has been, I think, since the G6, but that doesn't it doesn't take away from what's an incredible monster handset, which is not getting a lot of attention. DTNL, what's a headphone jack? I don't know. I mean, it's like it sounds like one of those computer things, and I don't even know what's a computer. From 20 Miles 1975 from Sam, the V50 isn't available. I think he means through AT&T at all through AT&T. Yeah, again, it's a 5G radio phone, and I don't think AT&T has any legit consumer 5G rollout happening yet. So it makes sense. T-Mobile passed. T-Mobile went all Samsung for their 5G strategy. It's crazy to think. Hashtag some Sprint shill guy. It's crazy to think that Sprint has a triple phone strategy. It's like Sprint and Verizon actually have some choices for 5G, but Sprint managed Galaxy S10 5G, the LG V50, and the OnePlus 7 Pro 5G. There's a OnePlus 7 Pro 5G on Sprint. That's crazy. And if you're on Sprint, if you're in an area that's going to get a 5G upgrade over the next couple years, this is a nice upgrade for Sprint consumers. it's not in my neck of the valley, but when I drive out to some of the areas that do have coverage, Sprint is finally usable in Southern California with their new 5G radio strategy. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good times. And wrapping up my videos and my commentary, this one was a labor of love. If you remember, a couple weeks back, I did a review, sort of a lineup on the new in-ear monitors from Me Audio. This is a brand I've really come to enjoy. Their Pro products. I'm dropping it on my table here. And they're some of my most used products here in the Gadget Lab are their in-ear monitors, and they have a system for doing custom molds. And they're one of the first for consumers that if you can schedule an appointment with them or if you meet up with them at a trade show, that they can do an optical scan of your ears. So instead of like shoving something into your ear canal, like some kind of putty or foam to do a mold, they do it with just it. I think it's some kind of dental scanner that they've refitted to do a scan of the entire ear. Really, really cool. And if you've ever had molds done, way more comfortable just having an optical scan done than having something pushed into your ears. So I have, since doing them, since getting my ears molded with them a little over a year ago, I've been trying to talk about this more as an option for consumers. We don't think much of offering up a premium solution like Sony Bluetooth cans. Those are beautiful audio products. Sony's wireless game is so strong right now. But there are other solutions and there are other consumers that might want something that's biologically fitted to them, but we only talk about molds as a solution for professionals. And they're crazy expensive. You can get molds done for around $150, and drivers start at like $50. The earbuds themselves are like $50. So starting at around $200, that's not a cheap solution, but that's not off the mark for a premium audio experience. That's pretty good. So this year, when I got the refresh, they refreshed the MX Pro line. I did a video on that. Instead of just talking about my experiences as an audio snob, getting a new set of molds done and fitted for my own earbuds, I talked to the folks at Me Audio. We went down. I dragged my wife along, who is kind of the exact opposite of me. She has almost no interest in super premium quality audio sound because she has little pixie ears that can't fit earbuds. She's never had a pair of earbuds fit that don't cause immediate discomfort. So I dragged her down to Me Audio. They did a scan on her ears too. It was hilarious as the dude at Me Audio was scanning, like he was making these noises like, yeah, your ears are really small. We might not be able to make a mold for you. Like, it kind of validated her because for years people have told her, like, oh, well, you just got to get foam, or man, you got to get these little ear tips and you'll be fine. And you're again like, thanks, I'm cured. No, she actually has ridiculously small ear canals, and trying to wedge something in there has been extremely uncomfortable for her entire life. So I got her reactions wearing custom molded ear tips for the very first time. And she even I even got like a little snippet of her listening to a song, one of her favorite songs. And, I just can't help but like beam, like smile and grin over some of the thoughts that she shares in that experience. So I would hope that folks may be interested in something a little different, something a little more personal, something that, if you've got issues with fit or with comfort, noise isolation, maybe you work in an environment where you're surrounded by loud noises. This is a company that's doing earplugs. So they do that custom scan. You're in their system, you're on file with them. And at any point you can just, shoot them an email like, hey dude, I need some new earplugs. And like, they've got your stuff on file so they can ship out biologically fitted earplugs to help you out. There are so many aspects in hearing that I think are being dismissed as these lowest common denominator mediocre experiences. And so this was really fun to share a non-audio snob, non-audiophile reaction to a pretty premium solution. I mean, like, my wife's headphone game went from, whatever $20 crap she would get at Target to $300 earbuds. So we're not saying this is what everyone should do, but I am saying there is a market for this. And I think more people should be taking this seriously. Aw, Aditya Anil, hashtag some awesome husband guy, Matt Tyler, hashtag some love for his wife guy. I said it in the video and it's super cheesy, but I'm going to stand by it. I think her ears are worth it. If I can help prevent my wife from going more deaf as she gets older, I'm happy. I am happy to help support that endeavor. So yeah. So let's get this out of the way. Oh, I mean, just two last little bits of housekeeping. Like I mentioned at the top of this, we did do the Patreon state of the Patreon. You can catch the video recap of that if you're on the Patreon. Like I said, it's another 2-hour conversation if you don't hear me ramble on enough, but super chill. And then we also shared a lot of strategies that are going to be coming down the pipe. And then I also wanted to bring up, as if I wasn't doing enough on my own personal channel, I did do another guest appearance on the Augmented Experience podcast at the AE podcast, hosted by my buddy Josh. He's a savvy kid coming out of Texas. He's still in college. He's booking time at the college recording studio to do his own tech commentary, to do his own tech podcast. And he wanted to have me on to talk about video production and trying to do more with your phone. So it's kind of a follow-up. I did a RelateCast's Tech Down Over podcast 2 weeks ago, where we talked about like phones properly displacing laptops and tablets. Like, that's, for me, as we get into 2020, I don't see a problem spending $1,000 on a phone. But if I spend $1,000 on a phone, I want it to displace my need for a tablet or a laptop. I want computing power, and I want that accessible. And so Josh wanted to do a follow-up conversation on video, as this is one of those areas, content creation, where our phones are much more capable than I think a lot of consumers realize. So all of the show links, all of the articles, and all of course, all of my videos and reviews will be in the show notes after this podcast wraps up and the audio version goes live. You'll be able to catch all of that. SomeGadgetGuy.com or wherever you subscribe to podcasts. If you're on the Spotify's or the Google Podcasts or the Apple Podcasts, a couple other platforms too, I'm sure. There will be plenty of links for us to discuss. All right, housekeeping went long. I know Matt Tyler was talking under 16 minutes. I don't think I quite hit that. When did we start? Was it 9:07 that I started doing housekeeping? I don't know. Oh, is LFA? Is LFA in the live chat? Because he's one that I really want to get his take at some point, talking about me audio too, as a more as like again, because his commentary on True Wireless has been awesome. So some of his thoughts on what Me Audio is trying to do for pro audio could be kind of interesting. All right. Let me get this out of the way here. So how about we jump into a little news? And Kane Spect is now following on Mixer. Hello, Kane Spect. Tech and politics. I know gadget fans, tech enthusiasts, we get really squirrely when people start bringing up politics. Like, we want to separate our passion for glowing rectangles and fun gadgets from sort of the dirty side of humans having authority over the decision-making process and how we use our technology. Increasingly, I don't feel like those topics can be easily separated. There's a lot happening in the world today where technology is both the cause of a problem and the solution for a problem. And our discussion of that, especially those of us who are tech savvier than the average bear, our discussion of that is going to be critical for solving those problems and not just rolling over to bad policy. So I again, it's one of those situations where it's always been a privilege of ours that we could largely ignore politics or act like we were in some sort of Wild West where those concerns were less apparent. Now I feel like the tech savvy are going to have to face some of these policies head on so that we can drive, we can lead the discussion, and we can also be good resources for our family and friends. If there's a scary news story out there and it involves a company like Google, then we need to be able to help drive that discussion with good information. We need to be better than I'm so over that, I don't want to be a part of that. Because then you're just abdicating your responsibility to someone who knows less than you. You're giving up your power, you're giving up your control to someone who's not going to be as good at this. If you're watching a podcast like this, or if you're listening to a podcast like this, you're probably better at this stuff than most of the people who are really driving the bus. So this is why I wanted to point out this story right here. This is coming from Medium, but it's a group of 2,000 Google employees who will be striking over climate change. From the actual Medium article. We have to do that right here. We have about 11 years left to make big structural changes and save our collective future. This is not a drill or an exaggeration, and it's not up for debate. If anything, this estimate is conservative. And by we don't mean you as an individual. Personal consumer choice may help, but the responsibility lies with those who contributed the most to climate change and who have the structural power to shift policies and practices at a large scale. So I'm not going to read through all of this, but there's a group of a couple thousand Google workers looking to strike and to draw attention to the corporate practices of mega huge data centers and tech infrastructure and the impact it has on our resources, on our power, on our environment for where that power is drawn, and that they're kind of joining up with a collection of other employees from Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, and Twitter that the way that a company might purchase some carbon footprint offsets might not really change the realities of how our tech can impact the environment. I feel like there's a very important discussion to be had about personal responsibility, taking care of our electronics, getting more use out of them, using them longer, repairing instead of replacing when we can. But those conversations are also impacted by us being able to do everything perfect as an individual and then still having to try and find ways to offset mega corporate infrastructure. I'm perfectly happy to give up plastic straws. That doesn't bother me. I'm a grown-up. I know how to drink out of a glass. But that's going to be what? If we immediately got rid of consumer drinking plastic, that would be like a 2% difference in the amount of plastic waste which is generated. So we need to have some very, very stark conversations about how do we deal with businesses? To what extent should a government be able to change a business's policy? The free market isn't really getting this job done on its own, and even if we vote with our wallets, it doesn't change the realities of the mega footprint that a large organization can have on this type of problem. So, I like I said, I'm going to have this Medium article linked. There's going to be a series of strikes and walkouts and protests led by employees of these. I'm sorry, I just saw Matt Tyler. I need straws. I'm an adult, but I'm very clumsy. And then Kyle Ruggles, get a tippy cup. I mean, like, again, I'm starting to be that guy who shows up to coffee places with my own mug, right? When I used to work at a bagel shop, and we used to have just like a $1 jar. You rolled up with any kind of coffee mug, you'd slap $1 down on the counter, and we'd say, "Hey, cool, go get a coffee," and you could fill up your own coffee mug. We were proud to offer that. That was 18 years ago, almost 20 years ago, I it's silly that I just came back to this idea like, oh, you know what? I own coffee mugs. I could just go to a Starbucks and tell them to give me the drip coffee, because I don't really get lattes or cappuccinos because they take way too long when I got stuff to do. Like, just fill her up. I'll pay for the coffee. I don't need the cup. I don't really want the cup. I'm here for the coffee, and the coffee's already crazy overpriced, so I'll just do that. That is a great point, Charlie Spirit Song, that when I go, I could also bring my super awesome Mega Pickle mug to get my coffee. Gotta rep that Mega Pickle mug. So I hope you'll take a read through this. This is a cause I believe in. I am willing to change my behavior, but it kind of doesn't matter if I change my behavior and mega corporate infrastructure doesn't adjust their behavior as well. So this is why we need to be a part of this conversation, and we need to weigh in on what our politicians might do. If it becomes too reactionary a situation, I don't think we're going to like that. I don't think we're going to like drastic action, and I think we would appreciate more nuanced policy to help fix these things in an appropriate manner. But now we've waited until this became a crisis. We're getting to crisis point, so we need some smart grown-ups talking about this stuff to help guide elected officials who probably aren't good at it. That's why our voices need to be heard. Geet Madden, coffee places, salad bars, even Burger King, I take my own boxes or mugs. Starbucks also has a have it here cup discount. Look into this stuff. It's not even so much like, oh, I'm going to save money, I'm going to buy this mug, it's going to offset. No, it's just, to me, it's just a better way to do it. My coffee mug is going to keep my coffee hotter than a paper cup, and I don't have to have that weird cardboard clutch thing to. Anyway, I could go on. I'll link to this article. Take a read through what Google employees have to say about their employer, and consider joining this conversation. Consider being a part of it, because what you have to share as a tech enthusiast with your local elected official will be a lot more valuable than a lot of people just ranting on Facebook. So I feel we are more powerful and we are more effective than we have been. I feel we could be more powerful and more effective than we really have been in these types of conversations. So let's step up. Let's be a positive force for also getting cool tech and cool gadgets and fun stuff. This one I feel is important just to touch on. This is coming out of Extreme Tech. This has been a very common story that I like to check in on. When I revived this podcast, one of the major stories that was happening at the time was another law enforcement situation where I believe it was here in Southern California, and the FBI was pressuring Apple again to try and build backdoors or defeat their own corporate security, their own encryption, so that law enforcement would have an easier time getting information off of a suspect's phone. If you're in this live chat, I feel we would all pretty much agree that it's a terrible idea to build backdoors into consumer devices. That it's not a question of what do you have to hide. It's a question of there's no way to keep a backdoor safe, and everyone's data becomes phenomenally more vulnerable when there's a known method of circumventing security. Because we're also going to talk about a Samsung phone in just a bit, where apparently it's super easy to circumvent security. This is always going to be a terrible idea. We have been debating with our government since Windows 98, I believe. Someone please correct me on that, but I want to say the first major pushes into law enforcement defeating computer security for consumers happened somewhere around Windows 98, where the FBI started getting involved in saying, you can't have encryption on your computer. It makes it easier for criminals to do bad things. So the reason why I want to touch on this, we see law enforcement making this big posturing stance. We need Apple to do this. We need Apple to crack into iPhones, when apparently in New York City, they've been cracking into iPhones for a couple years now. That defeating Apple's security has already been completed. So this is coming by way of Extreme Tech, written up by Ryan Whitman. Using a screen lock on your smartphone will keep most prying eyes away from your personal data, but law enforcement is not so easily deterred. Police have access to tools and services that can crack phones, and we might not even know what capabilities they have until years later. Israeli forensics firm Celebrite announced its new in-house phone cracking tool earlier this year, but a new report suggests law enforcement has had access to it since early 2018. So there's a tinfoil hat wearing thought that when a city or state government, or when the FBI is trying to put pressure against a company like Apple, that kind of surveillance to me doesn't speak to a criminal situation. That to me feels a lot like NSA policy just generically surveilling everyone. If you're again, I have no evidence of this. This is speculation. This is my feelings and my opinion on the matter. But we've known of these black box machines for a while now that supposedly can circumvent Apple's security. Roughly put, there are ways that you can do things like you can copy out the data on an iPhone and mimic some of the security hardware well enough that you can then just brute force run the number of locks. So like, let's say you've got a 4-digit PIN. There's a finite number of options for a 4-digit PIN, and you can keep replicating that phone until you eventually crack it. So you run 10 attempts, and then of course after 10 attempts, the iPhone will nuke all the data. But you made a copy and you replicated some of that security hardware, so you just duplicate it again, and you run another 10, and you duplicate it again, and you run another 10. For my own personal phones, I'm moving over to a more robust alphanumeric phone password, and then I can usually get by fine with biometric, a face unlock or a fingerprint. But that's what's so concerning. If we know that these methods are already being built, we don't need to make encryption weaker. We don't need to make the devices less secure. Law enforcement has already apparently built a better battering ram. So why is it that we see these organizations so loudly proclaiming that we need to make devices less secure? And to me, the immediate, the first idea that comes to pass is just better surveillance. I can't see a justifiable position for weakening consumer encryption beyond we just want to be able to peek whenever we want, like the NSA did. So again, Extreme Tech has a solid write-up on just this. I would recommend not only just reading through what Extreme Tech has to say here, but then also kind of following up on a couple of these other stories. This is a topic I feel like we need to keep coming back to, because I feel like if we go on autopilot, like, hey, we won this one fight, we're not gonna, they're not gonna try and force Apple to weaken encryption. That's when we get lazy, and then like 5 years down the line, a bill comes up before Congress, force manufacturers to include encryption, but we've been off the plot for so long, it gets to sneak through our lawmaking process. So not super great. Kiwi Mad Dog 420, it's not far off to predict that enthusiastic nation states will have the tool to break into any phone. I would be shocked if major governments around the world weren't already up to speed on this stuff. Don't forget, we've got there's the current exploit on iPhones up to the iPhone 10. Someone please correct me on that. From the iPhone 6 to the iPhone 10, where we might have permanent jailbreaking capabilities. And the way that Apple does its sort of secure enclave enclosure protected memory, there are ways to defeat it. There are ways to circumnavigate it, circumvent it, not circumnavigate. Come on, Juan, use the good big words. But yeah, I want us to be a little curious into what our law enforcement agencies and our governments are doing in the name of security when they already have these tools at their disposal. So, and Charlie Spirit Song, yes, the unpatchable iPhone exploit is from the 6 to the 10. Matt Tyler, you speak good English. My problem with speaking good English is why few words when many words are better. So I feel I will be spending many words on this next story. This was sent over by Aditya Anil. Kind of a breaking news story. If we needed any other reasons to be frustrated and to be pissed off at Facebook, and again, how the legal process, law enforcement, and consumer protection agencies always drop the ball when it comes to policing mega corp like Facebook. Scott Galloway shared this article from The Hollywood Reporter talking about Facebook video and the inflation of Facebook video stats. So this is Hollywood Reporter, written up by Eric Gardner. Facebook to pay $40 million under proposed settlement in Videometrics suit. On Friday, several advertising agencies revealed the details of a proposed settlement with Facebook that would end a class action alleging the social media giant overstated the average time its users spent watching video. According to a brief in support of the settlement, Facebook would pay $40 million to resolve the claims. Much of that would go to those who purchased ad time in videos, though $12 million, or 30% of the settlement, is earmarked for the plaintiff's attorneys. The suit accused Facebook of acknowledging miscalculations in metrics upon press reports, but still not taking responsibility for the breadth of the problem. The average viewership metrics were not inflated by only 60 to 80%. They were inflated by some 150 to 900%, and stated in an amended complaint. When Facebook started hitting video, so many of my friends were just gobsmacked. If you can find them, we talked about this quite a bit back in the day on the Bored at Work podcast, just like Facebook's algorithm, you're getting directly connected to, your viewers and your fans. The video retention is better. These numbers are huge. And then very shortly after that, we all sort of realized that this is super fake. That we'd see these view numbers skyrocket, but actual engagement would plummet. Our websites the traffic to our websites would plummet. The traffic on our videos on other platforms would plummet. And then Facebook really started ratcheting up the extortion. So if you built a community on Facebook, you wouldn't get access to them. You'd have all these followers, all these subscribers, but if you wanted to actually get your new post out to all of them, you would have to pay Facebook to send your content to the people that had already subscribed. This wasn't about finding new viewers or new audience. This was just paying to reach the people who had already subscribed to you. $40 million is nothing. Going back to Scott Galloway's tweet, companies going bankrupt, people losing jobs, Facebook gets away with 0.18% of annual income, a slap on the wrist. We keep leveraging fines against mega data corporations that aren't even taxes to them. Facebook's ability to absorb a $40 million blow in a business practice, which likely put numerous companies out of business and wrecked a huge chunk of how we used to interact with services online. they won't even blink at that. The amount of money they have made by disrupting business practices around the web, Walmart style. Facebook rolls in, it's so easy. Here, you can reach all these people. Now just stay on our platform and keep paying us to keep using our platform. And then we'll push everyone else out of business because you should only be on Facebook. Facebook should be the internet. $40 million is nothing to the insane amount of money they've made by hosting these types of very anti-consumer and anti-business business practices. So in the show notes, in addition to this article and Scott Galloway's tweet, I'm also going to link Adam Conover. Whether or not you like, what is it? Adam Explains. I can't remember what his show is. I think it's a cute infotainment-y show, sort of looking into Adam ruins your preconceived notions of how things work. Adam ruins everything. Is that what it is? I can't remember. Anyway, he's a goofy dude. I don't really love his podcast, but his show is charming infotainment. I don't always think he's citing sources very well, but it's usually a fun watch, and I think they're on Facebook now. Yeah, Aditya Anil, Adam ruins everything. So he just shared some of his thoughts as he was a part of the College Humor team. And I just want to read through a few of his tweets here. My former employer, College Humor, did this. In order to beat YouTube, Facebook faked incredible viewership numbers, so College Humor pivoted to Facebook. So did Funny or Die and many others. The result, a once thriving online comedy industry was decimated. A $40 million fine is laughable. A little more context. When I joined College Humor, fans watched videos on our site, and that meant that we sold the ads and we controlled the metrics. We had a killer ad sales team and made custom videos for major brands. YouTube was mostly just to drive traffic to the site. It was a real business. We posted links to Facebook, of course, but the links led to our site. And I specifically remember the fateful day someone said, "You have to see the numbers native videos get on Facebook. They're insane." Too good to pass up, so we started posting videos natively to Facebook instead. The problem, no way to monetize. In fact, instead of viewers coming to our site and seeing ads, Facebook's model is to charge you for access to your fans. Site traffic plummeted, so did ad rates, and thus video budgets. Our Facebook views were awesome, but we now know that those were a lie. And there are a couple other tweets that he goes on just to talk about some of the other challenges, some of the other problems. So that's the topic of this week's poll on twitch.tv/SomeGadgetGuy under the video. Do we think that this is another bit of evidence that should encourage a discussion as to whether or not we should break up a company like Facebook? At some point, the market can't correct for this. How do we fix Facebook as consumers? How do you vote with your wallets on a service that uses you as the fodder for its advertising business? You're not even really a part of the product. You're a fuel for the product. So either we just give up and the internet belongs to a company like Facebook or Amazon or Google, or we've got to push back in some way. So you can vote in that poll if you think Facebook should be broken up. But in the near term, $40 million, there needs to be some other punishment, a much starker financial hit or assessment for how a company like this does business, traffics in user data, can't keep your data secure, will give up whatever they want to the highest bidder, will happily accept money for ads that are misrepresenting the truth. Elizabeth Warren just paid for a bunch of Facebook ads where she lied about Mark Zuckerberg's relationship with Russian media and the Russian government to show that you can just pay for ads that lie. There is no this ad paid for. She had to go and put it in the ad that she bought that, by the way, this is not true and this is all a lie, but it doesn't matter because Facebook is still happy to take our money to promote something which is a lie. So the situation hasn't been fixed from our last election. This is a major resource for people to get news and access to information, and it's thoroughly manipulated. And not in any like agenda-driven way. It's manipulated in what makes Facebook the most money. And something tells me that's never going to ally with what consumers really need. That's always going to be at odds with a platform dedicated to properly representing topics and informing people and delivering good news. We need drama and we need clickbait and we need outrage traffic, and we'll happily take money from anyone who will keep you using Facebook longer. This is awful. This is terrible. And every other web service that tries to go up against a monolithic agency like a Facebook is probably going to lose. From Kyle Ruggles, delete Facebook, don't be the effing product. And several people agreeing with Kyle Ruggles. And again, I think we're in the right climate. I've moved a number of my family members to other messaging platforms. A lot of us are just going back to SMS, family and friends, where we used to try and play with, Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp. And now it's just like, we'll do a group text. It's the only way to make sure everyone between Android and iPhone might be able to see our messages. So yeah, it's good times. This story this story is starting to hit a little traffic, sent over by Matt Tyler. Everyone say, hey, Matt, this is a good one. So if you remember back to my review of the LG G8, hold on, it's always within arm's reach. It's over here. My LG G8. And I did a review on the Galaxy S10e. That was the Samsung I picked this year. Not a big fan of in-display fingerprint sensors. Facebook's, at the time, Samsung's Face Unlock security was easily fooled by a photo or a video. It's gotten a little bit better, but their Face Unlock is still not nearly as secure as Apple's, not nearly as secure as the LG G8s. But I liked the S10e for having a dedicated hardware side-mounted fingerprint sensor. I still feel rear-mounted fingerprint sensors are the best solution, especially as our phones have gotten larger. I really hate the feel of trying to find a fingerprint sensor. Like, it requires attention to find an in-display fingerprint sensor and to get a feel for it. Or, like on the iPhone, oh, let me hold this phone up. Now it's unlocked. Now it goes into the phone. Now I've got to swipe so that I can clear the lock screen. When I use a phone with a rear-mounted fingerprint sensor, it's unlocked. Like, I'm making eye contact with you, and it's unlocking. I don't have to pay any attention to turning my phone on and it being ready to use when it's in front of my face. That was a very long-winded and ranty way to get into this topic, because apparently there might be a small issue with the in-display fingerprint sensors on Samsung phones. So this is what Matt Tyler tweeted me. Mum discovers anyone could access her information on her Galaxy S10 after fitting a £2.70 screen protector from eBay. So they've got a little video. I'm not going to play the video. Who is this? Does The Sun also not publish? Oh, written up by Robin Perry? Perry? Let's see. Let's get down into the article. With the screen on, Lisa set up her right thumbprint to access the phone, but later used her left, which unlocked it. She found any print could unlock the phone. Lisa from Castleford, West Yorks, I have no idea if that's how you pronounce it, said anyone can access it and could get into the financial apps and transfer funds. She got husband Wes, 34, to try, and both his thumbs were also able to open the phone through the gel cover. Mom of two, Lisa also checked her sister's Samsung, and it was exactly the same when fitted with the case. And the company are now investigating her discovery. This is what's so frustrating about being a practical tech fan. The market changes faster than our ability to vote with our wallet. Think about the time from Apple getting rid of the headphone jack to LG being one of the only premium options with a headphone jack left. What is it? It's like LG. Is there a headphone jack on the newer Xiaomis, like the Redmi? Someone please let me know, because I haven't gotten my hand on a Xiaomi in a while. There's not a headphone jack on the Note. It's what, 2 years? 2 years from Apple getting rid of it first to that headphone jack, which is phenomenally useful, hugely democratizing, and can offer up a higher quality experience than Bluetooth. 2 years. That's the length of time that someone might be holding on to their phone. So someone who went out and got a Galaxy S9 will have zero ability to vote with their wallet when it's time for them to get a new phone. And the same thing is kind of happening here with our security. Face unlock, better biometric security, some of the really amazing fingerprint hardware that Huawei and LG were incorporating into their devices, having a standalone rear sensor, which is more secure, is faster than having, and more ergonomically convenient. Like I said, I don't need to look at the screen to unlock my phone. I don't need to feel, like where that might be. I can just do it. It just opens, and it's fast. So if you remember, this was a problem that we were examining on the Nokia 9. Tech Alter, who you should be subscribed to his channel. His videos are freaking amazing if you're into tech and business. Tech Alter found that he was able to get into his Nokia 9, which has an in-display fingerprint sensor, with fingerprints that weren't his, and then also by pushing things up against the fingerprint sensor like a gum wrapper. We are trying to make this look cool, but it is less practical, is ergonomically more difficult to use, and it's less secure. And my hypothesis is, I can't test this because I don't have a Galaxy S10 anymore. I even got rid of my Galaxy S10e. But my hypothesis is, in-display performs so poorly, and you can't anticipate what type of screen protector someone might use. So Samsung has made a decision, potentially here, to focus on the speed of the unlocking mechanism over the verification of the print that's being scanned. Because when you, even today, even with a couple software updates that have improved the performance on the Nokia 9, I refuse to use a phone without a screen protector. There are no good glass screen protectors for the Nokia 9. Even when it's working better, the scan takes a long time on the Nokia 9. That would be unacceptable on a Galaxy S10. That would be a legit deal breaker that even Samsung white knights and Samsung fanboys would have to acknowledge. I am afraid, it is my hypothesis, that when that image or when the scan is somehow disrupted by some other non-official screen protector or something blocking in the way of that, because it's an ultrasonic, if I remember correctly. Someone please correct me there. That they have prioritized speed. They have prioritized the accessibility over the actual security. So, again, I mean, like, I got an instant tweet back when I shared this tweet from Matt, just like, oh, well, that's why you need to get an iPhone. And you're like, yeah, Face Unlock is more secure. And I mean, if you don't have a twin, Face Unlock is more secure than what Samsung is doing here. But it's also like, when these things pop up, we've got to stop just like dismissing this as, oh, well, Samsung will fix it. It's no big deal. I mean, they're it's new tech. It's new tech. You've got to let it evolve. You've got to, Samsung's trying to push the boundaries, and sometimes, some missteps are going to happen. If this gets verified, Samsung is one of the least secure platforms in Android right now. Their face unlock is not based on any type of mapping. It's not based on any type of depth information. It's an image scan. And if this can be replicated on other Galaxy devices where all you need to do is go spend $4 on some crap screen gel protector and you can get into anyone's Galaxy, that's bad. That's real proper bad. And for all of those people that were like, oh, why would you ever buy an LG G8? Oh, the hand gestures are such gimmicks. Meh, 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 meh. And actually, I just turned my phone on with my palm unlock. And they totally wrote off that the time of flight sensor on the G8 offered up a faster, more reliable, and more secure face unlock because, oh, the gestures don't work right when I can't get them to do that. We gotta stop letting algorithms and YouTube popularity dictate how we talk about gadgets. That the only options for us are Samsung and Apple because Samsung and Apple are most popular for YouTube search. If this is a verified security threat, an entire generation of Galaxy S10s are ridiculously vulnerable if that phone falls into someone else's hands. Just imagine you're on the metro, someone snatches a purse, they get a Galaxy, rip off the screen protector, slap on a piece of gel, and get into their bank account information that fast. If this becomes a widely known exploit, it's that fast. And there goes your PayPal, there goes your Venmo, there goes your actual banking kit. We need to do a better job of actually verifying and reviewing this stuff and not just, well, what's going to get me the best traffic on YouTube? My V50 review is doing well for a video on my channel. It is still getting crushed by some of the crap Apple editorial videos that were super low effort for me. Putting the time and effort into using a V50 for a couple weeks and checking out network performance and benchmarking it and rendering video with it and shooting a ton of video and photo samples. I could go and make a video today about, oh, this is what I think about Apple and the iPhone, and I don't even have one. And that video will still probably outperform my V50 review. Because algorithm. So, everyone say hey to Andrew. Mr. Wallace, Fat Produce, joined the live chat. Abraham Artemis, G8 owners be like, vindication. Oh, I got a ton of comments on this. Okay, Xiaomi Mi 9 launched in October has no 3.5 millimeter jack. I thought one of the Mi 9T or the Mi 9T Pro did have one. Kyle Ruggles also upset about OnePlus ditching the headphone jack. Matt Tyler, no reason for under display scanners except we can, so why not? Again, at some point I feel like that tech will catch up and it'll be really good. I'm still going to be bummed because I want a tactile experience that I don't have to look at the screen or like really nail the muscle memory choreography where a rear fingerprint sensor has a feel that I don't need to pay attention to landing an almost perfectly consistent track record of unlocking the phone. Every in-display sensor I've ever used, there is a substantially higher failure rate for unlocking the phone, or if I don't get the fingerprint perfectly lined up, I have to pay more attention to doing something basic like getting into the phone. From Matt Tyler, the under-display scanner on the ROG is one of its weak points, to be honest. It's not brilliant. That's too bad. DTNL. And if we can't use third-party screen protectors, Sammy gets to rake in even more cash to fix their own problem. Oh, from Kiwi Mad Dog 420. You could say that the sensor on the S10 is a gimmick. So I called out Samsung when the S10 first launched, and you could fool the S10 face unlock with a photo. That's a gimmick. Air gestures on the G8 are totally a gimmick. That is not a mainstream way of interacting with a phone. the choreography is so difficult to nail. But that's the gimmick. The actual hardware provides a tangible benefit to Face Unlock security. Samsung's Face Unlock was totally a gimmick. Again, it's not secure, and you get the warning. Oh, this is less secure. You got to be careful. 20 miles, 1975. Convenience over security. That's what most consumers want. You should listen to people complain, he used a harsher word there, on the password requirements US Treasy application requires. I hear it all day. Again, if you're in this live stream, if you're in this live chat, start talking to your family and friends about switching over to a more robust password on your phones. I am always going to be a danger spot because, like, you know, I'll use my watch as a Bluetooth verification to unlock my phone faster just so I can get into stuff. And I sometimes have 2 or 3 phones on me at a time. Keeping track of this stuff is hard. But we can do a better job of protecting our family and friends. Kyle Ruggles, it'll just be a normal occurrence. Hacked, breach, it's normal. Your information's already up for the highest bidder anyway. From the Sentinel 909, but what kind of international spies are we that we demand so stringent security? We solved one problem where someone would rip off a phone and it would be easy to wipe that phone and then resell it. Now it's a lot more difficult for someone to steal a phone and profit off of stealing that phone. If this is true on a Samsung, it's not about being an international spy. It's about the #1 worldwide manufacturer of phones. You can now get into the information on anyone's phone if you steal that phone and you slap a gel cover on it, and you can circumvent the fingerprint. I really hope that this is not, that the Sun is sensationalizing something here and that this isn't verifiable. But we need people to test that, and it's going to be a bit before reviewers with good Samsung relationships are going to detail their findings on this. But it's not about, oh, my information is so precious that, you know, state secrets and blah, 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 blah. It's, this actually now creates a super easy method of ripping people off and getting into things like banking information and digital online payment systems. So yeah, we should care about this. We don't just write this off because Samsung made an oopsie. This is a big oopsie. Abraham Artemis, at the very least, they need to make the area for the on-screen fingerprint sensor really big. There was a prototype I saw where the fingerprint scanning section was like a quarter of the screen. And that to me would be the fair trade-off. Like, if I can't have a fingerprint sensor that is super easy to find without looking at the phone, that you can nail through just a purely tactile experience, then I want like half the screen to be a fingerprint sensor. That's, yeah. Steve, good security is a gimmick. YouTubers 2019. Oh, and from Matt, the light up logo on the back of my ROG has 0 functionality, but they still did it. It drives me nuts that Apple wouldn't put Touch ID into the Apple logo. How awesome that would be. You could have Face Unlock or Fingerprint Unlock. You could use that to verify your purchases instead of holding the phone up to your face and double tapping the power button. Just dumb. A dumb solution for fixing something that wasn't broken. From Matt Tyler, my password is password. I always annoy my wife because we talk about, you know, like, oh, verification, or, well, we need to do this. I just had to get a new license and Real Me, and I had to verify my my personal information so I could fly on an airplane. And so every single time the word like verify comes up or the word passport comes up, I always it's like a knee-jerk reaction. The line from the movie Sneakers with Robert Redford and Sidney Poitier. My voice is my passport. Verify me. Hey, hun, we need to, re-up our passports because we're going to do that trip. My voice is my passport. Verify me. She doesn't think it's funny anymore, but the less she thinks it's funny, the more hilarious I think it is. So those are some of the crankier and the top news stories. If someone out there has a Galaxy S10 or an S10 Plus, or actually, you know what? It would be worth seeing if this is also something that can be replicated on a Note with an in-display fingerprint sensor. I am concerned, and my hypothesis is that this might be similar to some of the shenanigans we saw with Nokia. And that's not a good look for a company like Samsung. Give it a shot. Let us know. Shoot some video of it. Can you crack into your Galaxy S10 by swapping out a gel cover or a screen protector on it? So that would be super scary. All right. I'm going to take a sip of water here and not do the ASMR into the microphone. But the Mega Pickle Mug. Probably the tastiest pickle-themed mug on the internet. And I agree with 20 Miles 1975. Note 9, better device overall than the 10 or 10 Plus. I mean, a Note 9 versus a Note 10? Come on, no contest. So, this is the part of the show where we've been talking about YouTube shenanigans and algorithms and analytics and metrics and how you stay popular by only talking about popular things on the internet. And I want to throw a plug out. If you care about a broader, more diverse tech conversation, it's increasingly necessary, critical, that when you find a content creator you like, that you are able to do more than just passively view their content. Sharing, participating, commenting, some higher degree of interaction is necessary in this day and age to help promote and to help feed a content creator who you think is doing good work. It's necessary. I'm still going through it on my YouTube channel. I've yet to break 100,000 subscribers. I kind of don't care anymore about YouTube as a platform. It's an extremely cranky and entitled platform where when I talk about some of the things that I'm trying to do to diversify my content, or I'll put out a video that I think I did a really good job on, and then it's just endless requests. Well, if you reviewed this phone, I want you to review that phone. If you reviewed this phone, you need to compare it against this phone and this phone and this phone, and then you need to do this. You said one word wrong. You need to reshoot this video. And you're like, I didn't ask. I'm telling the story I want to tell. If you want to tell a different story, then you need to make your own YouTube channel. So this has never been more precious or more critical for smaller content creators, and then other folks like me who are maybe part of an older guard, got into tech reviewing in a different time or in a different environment and aren't thriving under these new algorithmic based policies. And we've had numerous stories on previous episodes of the podcast talking about how YouTube can get in the way of content creators and make this gig more difficult and move the goalposts on people when they do start to figure out how to reach their audience better. It's Matt Tyler. I want OnePlus 7T versus LG G4. So one of my initiative, one of the ways that I'm trying to help, I'm trying to change the tone of this discussion, is I set up my own subreddit. Reddit, the news popularity site. I'm trying to use news popularity tools and algorithms to combat popularity algorithms. So it's reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles. And I am increasingly proud of this community as they are sharing a wider selection of topics. And so I want to go through, these are the top 3 stories that are currently up on Glowing Rectangles this week. Let me click into screen share here. And number 3, in the number 3 spot, Chris Panton, Sony Xperia 1 review, the good, the great, the good, and the ugly. He's running his own YouTube channel. He's a smaller content creator. Where is he at? He's at 7,000 subscribers talking about the Sony Xperia 1, which was a phone I was very taken with. A very unique experience. Again, I love this commentary in tech, like, well, it's not for everybody. And you're like, no phone should be. Literally no one product should be for everybody. If that ever happens, then that market is dead. Like, anyone who's trotting things out there like, oh, well, I mean, if that's like for someone who has different needs, you're like, shut up. That is useless commentary. But Chris spent time with it and following up my review. I think this is an excellent counterpoint to some of the more glowing talking points that I had to say about the Xperia One. I'd almost want to say, like, watch our reviews back to back. And I think you'll get a pretty nuanced and well-rounded look at what were some of the pros. The screen is amazing, some cool camera tech, and then what some of the cons were, the fingerprint sensor, some of the ergonomic aspects of using such a tall and skinny phone. That's what we should have. There should be like a process for a review rebuttal, not just this, well, it's super popular on YouTube, so everyone agrees that this is the phone that you should use. Funnily enough, the second place video this week on Our Glowing Rectangles, Erica Griffin singing. This one kind of caught me by surprise. Sally song cover, iPhone 11 Pro mic test, happy Halloween. And I wasn't expecting it. I don't think Erica Griffin is going to be starring on Broadway anytime soon, but I was surprised that she had a much better singing voice than I would have expected. Erica Griffin is exactly one of these content creators that I want to talk about. Her channel isn't hurting for subscribers, but if you go through her channel now, chances are pretty good that if you're subscribed to her channel, you haven't seen many of her recent videos. Her viewership has trailed off significantly. She spoke very publicly recently about just needing to take a break, a vacation, which was a true vacation away from tech reviewing because her community was starting to get kind of toxic and she was putting in this enormous amount of effort. She was one of the best reviewers to follow if you cared about things like performance benchmarking and display benchmarking. She knew her stuff. She was breaking stories on things like the LG G5 and that weird powder coat paint over the metal frame, so it wasn't really a true metal build for the G5. She broke that story. She actually took the time to investigate that instead of just reading off a press release. But in this current age of YouTube, this is not a channel that is getting the same kind of ranking or popularity for her coverage and for her videos. I feel like we need to make up some of those differences if we want to continue getting good content. She has zero incentive to go off and do super long form deep dives on phones. So if you want to know like what's going on with the display on, I mean, even on a Samsung, I don't even think she's done that on an iPhone yet. She's probably going to be taught, well, it's worth it to do a deep dive on an iPhone, but it's not worth it to do a deep dive on a Motorola or an ROG or an LG or any other phone that doesn't score as high for popularity SEO rankings on YouTube. We lose a great voice in that discussion. But what we didn't lose was a delightful, charming rendition of Sally's song so that she could test out the iPhone 11 microphones, which is adorable. Geet Madden 1991. I don't know, man. I feel sometimes it's worth pointing out if a product is too niche. Against what? I mean, like, we're talking about mainstream manufacturers. LG is not too niche. Asus is not too niche. But if you spend as much time and as much effort making videos on those brands, Motorola is not too niche. You will be savaged for it. Your channel will not perform as well. And I can show you all of the video metrics where my iPhone videos grossly outperform my LG videos. It's pretty clear, like seeing how our media and our entertainment and our content is being manipulated. Oh, Goran Petrovic. Validate your French subtitles on your V50 video and talk about DxO Mark. Is BlackBerry a niche? Yeah, I would say BlackBerry is a niche Charlie Spirit song. That's one where we can easily point to a piece of hardware that has a very specific consumer demographic in mind, but it's being judged up against sort of daily driver average consumer phones. So I would wholly expect my BlackBerry coverage to perform differently than like my LG coverage, but the numbers don't really bear that out. Again, it's as soon as you sort of leave the Samsung Apple debate, that the only two options that are really worth it are Samsung and Apple, you just plummet. You just drop intensely. Where, again, I mean, it's like even a Pixel can have difficulty cracking through some of that discussion if your channel's a little smaller like mine is. So, from Fat Produce, yeah, despite being subscribed, I don't see any of Erica's videos in my YouTube feed. And it's been a while since I've seen her pop up in my feed, but she's been doing some Nintendo Switch coverage. She did have some videos out. I think she did some coverage on the Galaxy S10. There's more stuff to talk about. It's just you're probably not seeing it if you're only following on YouTube. And just to sort of tout my own subreddit here in a proud of me moment, top story on Glowing Rectangles just happens to be this jerk face. He always wears a dorky hat. I mean, it's kind of the definition of a punchable face. But he did a review on the LG V50, and it's at the top of the charts on Glowing Rectangles. So, you can take that for whatever that might mean. But it's really rare. It's extremely rare that I'm at the top of my own subreddit. So Gary Explains didn't have a major video out last week, so I guess that means I get to win. Usually it's a Gary video that totally knocks me out of the top 3 on my own subreddit. Abraham Artemis, oh man, that jerk again. 20 miles. F that guy. He's such a shell. But this is what I want to point out. When you stray from YouTube's sorting and YouTube's algorithm and you let other people submit content, Glowing Rectangles, reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles is a very small community. We're at 485 members, 485 subscribers. But scrolling down over the last week, some of the top stories, V50, someone talking about Chris Panton had an issue with companies that were blacklisting his reviews because he wouldn't give up the rights to his video. So they wanted to use a part of his video, and then they said, well, if you don't let us use this video, you can't get any more reviews. Xperia One, my wife's earbuds, OnePlus 7 Pro versus 7T. That's a TK Bay video. And we're getting down into like this is the number 9 spot, Josh Vergara, with his iPhone 11 Pro review. Easy Computer Solutions talking about MCN networks as scams. Who is this? This is CJ Knows Tech, Note 10 Plus versus iPhone 11 Pro. S10 versus LG G8 camera comparison. We got Viper in the house talking about memojis. There is a lot. Oh, this is a good one. Dean Nimmin. He's kind of a YouTube guru. I don't really care about being a YouTube guru, but he's got some great tips and tricks videos for creators, how to make better stuff. And he's got a video on a video editor that you can edit 1080p video for free and disable the watermark. Fandroid did a long-term review on the Axon 10 Pro. The Axon 10 Pro. How many videos have you seen on the Axon 10 Pro? ZTE is selling Android devices in North America again. Do we know how they're performing? Are the cameras any good? Can ZTE live up to the reputation of the Axon 7 for audio performance? I feel like that's a more well-rounded tech discussion. Like, I just went through, I think, the top 12 videos on Glowing Rectangles, and a couple of them were about iPhones and Galaxies. That's not the end of the discussion. There is a lot more to talk about. So I'm always just so proud of this community for finding new stuff. If you go to reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles, if you haven't already subscribed, I guarantee you will find a content creator you've never seen before, and you'll probably find a handful of videos on topics that you'll enjoy that you will have never seen if you leave it up to YouTube to organize your subscription feed for you. take the glowing rectangles challenge and see what other new stuff you can find from content creators you didn't know about, or from content creators that you haven't seen for a while. So it's good times. From Pacoston, not getting Erica's extremely detailed and amazing content is a heavy but completely fair price to pay, given she would have to crunch like crazy otherwise to produce just a fraction of the content she produces usually. But it's a shame. That's a voice that we don't get in this community anymore. So people are talking about Steve, Q3 Becker, did make French subtitles for my V50 review, and I will get to that. I'm sort of in the middle of a podcast right now. I mean, if you've noticed, but I'm talking to you directly. So we'll get there. Steve's a good dude. He's the one who hooked up the intro. We're big fans of Steve. But yeah, so that's the glowing rectangles plug. Support your local content creators, support smaller content creators, support people who make you cool stuff. And if you want more cool stuff, you've got to do more than just passively view or passively watch. So, I want to get into sort of the highlight topic of this week's podcast. Oh, man, my back is killing me. Sorry, and I know for those of you who are on the audio, this gaming chair like works when I'm able to just sort of lean back into it. But if I do that and I set it up, then I kind of look like the South Park gamer from the World of Warcraft episode, and my chin just gets all like mashed up against my throat. And then when I'm properly leaning back into this chair, if I shift, the pads on this gaming chair make even louder farting noises than if I just sit up. So I know you're going to hear like this shifting and stuff throughout the audio podcast. It gets way worse if I sit in this chair the way I'm supposed to sit in this chair. So let me get this out of the way here. So tomorrow, who wants to talk about? I mean, no, not that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. I'll probably be live tweeting or doing some other stuff. Pixel. There's going to be some news on Google's next smartphone, probably their next Chromebook. How we all feeling? Let me just test the waters here with the folks in the live chat right now. Pixel 4 leaked to death. I mean, there are full reviews of this phone out there now. The only thing we don't seem to have is proper confirmation on pricing in all regions. We did get a leaked sheet on Best Buy pricing, but it seemed to be using placeholder prices. Like everything was $999. I seriously doubt every Pixel is just gonna be $999. So what do we think? Google getting into the end of the year. Lots of people already jumping on Galaxies and iPhones. How are we feeling about a first-party product from the manufacturer and the developer of Android in this current climate? Okay, we got some replies coming in here. Matt Tyler, what's a Pixel 4? Fat Produce, if the Pixel 4 is $1,000 or more, they are shooting themselves in the foot, especially with the success of the 3A series. From Steve, I'm just hoping for surprises. I don't believe there is any room left for any kind of surprise. Gary the Fireman, looking to replace my Pixel 2 XL, but I can wait. Again, I mean, if you have a Pixel 2 XL, you're in the same power performance ratio as like a Pixel 3A. And the Pixel 3A for me is a phone that should easily last another 2 years. You'll be off the upgrade train probably next year, but I am very taken. I'm so much more curious about the Pixel 4 because of how good the Pixel 3A was. The Geegly Pixel 4, what's that? 20 miles. This is a great point because I think the beginning of next year is going to be very exciting for mid-rangers. I'll wait for the 4A XL, honestly. The Pixel 4A against this rumored iPhone SE2 could be one of the most exciting smartphone fights of next year. I'm giddily anticipating what Google and Apple can do around, say, a $400 price point. Because again, I mean, like if you've been keeping up with Xiaomi's and other sort of mid-pack, mid-price tier competitors, there's a lot of room to deliver a huge experience at $399. From Steve, this is what I'm curious about. Evan Blass, posted Canadian pricing a week or so ago. That's what I'm curious about. So Best Buy, again, this phone can't win for losing. Best Buy put up their product page and their pre-order page. Was it the end of last week or over the weekend? And they seem to be using placeholders for what the phone pricing might be. We've got some, if we just do like a Canadian to US dollar conversion, some of those prices make sense, but seem a little on the high side, somewhere in that $800 to $900 territory. And we might get a surprise. Like maybe there's going to be a 5G version of the Pixel, and that'll be the top price option. We don't know. But my guess, my hypothesis would be a starting price of around $799 for the smaller Pixel, $100 bump for the Pixel XL, and then another $100 bump for a 5G. That's what I would really hope Google would do. I think $800 first party, you're undercutting the iPhone 11 Pro. You're slightly ahead of the iPhone 11. Apple has unfortunately shown that you can still sell consumers plenty of phones with 64 gigabits of storage built in. But Google also isn't making the same content creator argument as an iPhone Pro. I don't see how you can have a Pro content creation device that only has 64 gigs of storage and no ability to add more. But Google that's not their messaging. They're trying to make a consumer-facing, streamlined, software-driven platform. So I kind of understand that. And if they can deliver a smaller Pixel at $800 with radar technology, a proper secure Apple-grade security face unlock, a 90 hertz refresh rate display, and they can tack on some more RAM to solve some of those RAM issues that Pixels have had in the past, $800 is not a bridge too far. $800 is now a premium offering for folks who care about software. And then the Pixel and the OnePlus become the top options to recommend for folks who want the most beautiful software experience that you can have in an Android device. You know, like I'm an LG fan, but I'm an LG fan despite their software, not because of their software. I'm an LG fan because I love their hardware. We all know LG's got some issues with their software. The Sentinel 909, it looks good to me and I like the camera slickness, but it has no headphone jack and cost $1,000 apparently. I really hope, just everyone, because we'll get the final pricing tomorrow, but everyone hope with me, not $1,000 to start. Not $1,000 to start. Don't price it exactly like the iPhone. Please don't do it. Oh, and Pakistan, we're going to talk about that too. The Pixelbook Go could be interesting too. That's going to be coming up next. I just want to wrap up what we know about the Pixel 4. So Steve posted from EV Leaks. Canadian pricing for... Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on, Steve. On my live chat, it bumped all of the formatting over, so it looks like the prices are on the wrong lines. Anyway, in Canada, a Pixel 4 64 gig will retail for $1,049.95. Can anyone do the conversion on $1,049.95 in US dollars? Because I want to say that's close to 900, if I'm just spitballing that in my brain. But the top of the line Pixel 4 XL 128 gig phone, $1,359.95 Canadian. So I have no idea what that is in real money. What is that, like $50 and a half a ham sandwich in US dollars? Someone more cultured than I, please tell me what the conversion is on that. Sorry, I'm talking mad trash here. Abraham Artemis, imagine an LG 50 with great software support. Oh boy, a boy can dream. Seriously? Oh. Okay. From Steve, from Q3 Becker, and from Abraham Artemis, $1,000 Canadian is close to $750 US. So that could be good. That would be right in my ballpark. I'm telling you guys, I skipped the Pixel 3 last year because I really wanted to spend time with the iPhone XS. I did not get to spend any time with the iPhone 10 because Jaime took the iPhone 10 when I was at Pocket Now. I had to spend time with the iPhone 8. No one cared about the iPhone 8. I cracked the frame on the iPhone 8 in a stupid minor drop, and we had to spend $100 to replace it on AppleCare. An $800, $799 for a 64 gig Pixel 4. That is competitive. It's not an Android power user device, but that's great territory for a consumer daily driver phone for someone who values software and could bring some really interesting, hopefully, fingers crossed, evolution to how we interact with our phones. If I get close to that, if I nailed the pricing on that, I'm going to be very positive on an $800 Pixel 4 against $1,000 iPhone 11 Pro. I think that's a good fight. We know Google is going to do very well, whether or not it beats the iPhone for having the bestest camera. A mainstream consumer-facing product, we know Google's going to have great computational point-and-shoot auto mode photography. I'm very curious to see what Soli and Radar hand gestures could do because I liked hand gestures on my G8. They're just too hard to nail the choreography in the moment. You can't just interact with it and not think about it. You have to like really focus on doing all of the hand and twisty and hand choreography. But at $800, that's a good starting price. That's not bad. Of course, Matt Tyler is spoiled because he has an ROG2 with 512 gigabytes of storage and 12 gigabytes of RAM. Of course, I get it. But, you know, again, an iPhone Pro isn't going to have a 90 hertz refresh rate display. A Galaxy doesn't have a 90 hertz display. And at $800, you're just a step above. You're just a little bit more than like a OnePlus 7 Pro. That's a good fight. I like that fight. But so Goran's trying to call me out. Juan, listen to yourself. $800, great starting price. Yeah, that is a good starting price if we're talking about a premium handset. And it's going to go on sale like every other phone. They're going to be BOGO offers. Over Thanksgiving, there's probably going to be like a $300 off or limited time deal. I mean, all of these things go on sale. A starting price at $800 makes this, that's competitive territory against any other premium phone from a major reputable manufacturer that we're in for. So for that $800, you're going to get a true secure face unlock. You're going to get a 90 hertz refresh rate display. You're going to get some of the best computational camera performance on any phone. The auto mode on a Pixel is top tier. What am I missing? You're going to get instant updates. You know, like Google is the only manufacturer who offered up day one Android 10 updates to the entire Pixel line. So we know a OnePlus 6T is going to get Android 10 by the end of the month. OnePlus can't do that for their entire lineup of devices. On day one, the Pixel 3s, the Pixel 3As, the Pixel 2s all got Android 10. Day one. So if you care about that software experience, that the ability to push out updates for so many different phones over a wider period of time, you have to pay for that logistics. If you don't want to pay for those logistics and you want that money to go into hardware, you can buy an LG. Where LG, we might get Android 10 the beginning of 2021. The hardware is going to be way better on an LG than what we'll get on a Pixel, but you're not going to get the same kind of software support. Again, I buy LG because I love LG hardware. You can't separate the price of a phone against just like, well, they both have the 855, so they have the same Snapdragon. It should be all the same price. It's so much broader and more nuanced than that. And if Google can deliver some interesting new interactions and some new methods for interacting with products, they can have a smarter approach to accessibility. Like maybe radar gestures on a phone that's propped up could be a perfect solution for someone who has difficulty manipulating a screen. That becomes a good solution for them. Let's say they've got top tier support. I'm really interested in what the Pixel can offer for things like transcription. You know, you push the voice recorder app. The mics on my LG are way better than what I imagine Google is going to use on the Pixel, but the Pixel can transcribe. That becomes a huge perk for someone who's in class taking notes on their phone or in a business meeting and wants to have the minutes of their meeting in text and in audio form. I mean, all these little things add up. All of this software development adds up. So I'm not excited about the Pixel 4 because I think it's going to be the perfect phone for me. I'm still going to stick with content creation platforms, but it's the same thing as the Pixel 3a. The Pixel 3a, I am stupid excited about that phone because it's not a phone for me. And there needs to be a wider variety of gadgets that we can turn to so that we can satisfy our family and friends. My mom's on a OnePlus because she's a computer programmer. She values a clean and efficient software environment, and she really respected their ability to update older devices. And she's not on a OnePlus 7. She's on a OnePlus 6T, and she got that phone at the beginning of this year. So again, all of this stuff matters, and we're going to see a bunch of tech YouTubers. I guarantee you, a bunch of tech YouTubers coming out like, oh, but it's not as good as this because this has this other feature that I care about more. And that's not the conversation. I should be able to get excited about a new gadget on behalf of someone who has completely different needs than what I have. Even cinematographers and photographers do not use their phones like I do because they're not cutting content for YouTube on the fly. They're producing legit film and TV. So their usage is going to be different than my usage, but I should still be able to get excited about some of these products or some of these benefits or some of these perks. And if Google can launch a phone $200 cheaper than an iPhone 11 Pro or $100 more than an iPhone 11, then I think you've got a good fight. I think you've got a good consumer fight. It's a phone that's backed by the company that develops and produces Android. Consumers are going to understand the Google iPhone, but they're also then going to turn on their web browsers or go to YouTube and see all of these nerds panning it because it doesn't have as many giggle flips or it doesn't have as many megapixels or they should have done this or should have done that, or I would buy it if I could have spent less. And that's not really the conversation we should be having. God, I miss HTC. Gary the Fireman, unlimited Google photo storage at full resolution, but I believe it is capped at 2 years. So I think we've already seen Pixel 1 off the reservation, but 2 years of phone ownership where you get full resolution storage is pretty cool. It doesn't offset the need for expandable storage if you shoot a ton of content, especially if you're shooting a ton of 4K video. But you can manage 64 gig, and cloud backups are nice. Like, that helps. From All Purpose Hash, it's not that bad, but I got an Nexus 5 and I can choose up to 60 megabit per second recording bitrate. You can do that on a Pixel. Actually, what is the max on my 3A? I'm going to have to look that up. The Pixel 3a has a pretty high cap for video. It doesn't have full support for all of the bells and whistles in Filmic, but even on some of that mid-ranger kit, you can bump all that up. It's not hard. You launch a camera app like Open Camera, and you should be able to mess around with your bitrate outside of the Pixel Camera app. Kyle Ruggles, custom ROMs for the win, and Doomer. LG V40 was one of the first devices to get an Android 10 custom ROM this year, which is surprising. From Kyle Ruggles, didn't Google release a transcribe audio recorder recently? I saw it on All About Android. The first apps that we've seen supporting that feature were leaked APKs from the Pixel 4. Again, Google is going to put their fanciest... I just turned on, by burping and saying Google, I just turned on 3 phones on my desk. Google is going to put that special sauce first into a Pixel. So again, if you care about software, you need to pay for that. Let's see. Aditya Anil, jack of all trades, master of none. To be honest, only the ROG2 deserves the title master of all. If you're talking about hardware, I'll agree with you. The Pixel hardware has never excited, especially coming from the Nexus going into the Pixel. But we can't say it's master of none when literally no one else can put out updates like Google can. The closest you get is OnePlus. Then after that, there's significant lag in between the various models for Nokia. They just announced that the Nokia 8 is going to be getting Android 10. But, I'm on a Nokia 9. I doubt we're going to see much activity on the Nokia 9. I'm judging Nokia by how they're supporting the Nokia 9. That was going to be a flagship phone for them. It's a brutal experiment camera-based phone. I want to see them support it. I don't believe that they can. So I want to credit, if you care about your software services, there is a strong argument to be made by buying the phone directly from the company that makes the software. Oh, Kyle Ruggles also bringing up Cinema 4K is a good camera app to try out too if you want to play around with some of those other settings. Let's get this out of the way here. Oh, Kyle Ruggles, I can record up to a 200 megabit per second video file with Cinema 4K on my OnePlus 6. And we all know why Kyle Ruggles went with the OnePlus 6, because it still has a headphone jack. That OnePlus 6 is such an undersung hero of OnePlus's lineup. I like it better than the 6T. I wish I could get the OnePlus 6 with the paint job of a OnePlus 6T. So I also wanted to bring this up. I've already forgotten who mentioned it. So sorry, but the Pixel Book. So we've seen, I'm sorry, I meant to throw on Next Rift. I'm going to have Next Rift's review in the show notes here, but they have, again, the Pixel 4 has just been crazy leaked. There is almost no major surprise left here, and we're all just waiting to see how much this thing's going to cost. But I'm happy that we're even just going back to a proper forehead bezel, and it's not going to be a notch. But yeah, so I mean, like this phone has been pretty well examined. Even though I am looking forward to spending some time with it, I'm not thinking like my reviews are going to do a ton of traffic just because this phone has been crazy examined and already pretty in-depthly reviewed, even though it hasn't even been officially revealed yet. But the other product that we're probably going to get some news on, the Google Pixel Book Go, which 9to5 Google already has, and has also been pretty well examined and dissected. A very modest return to a premium Chromebook strategy. looking like they're just going after a traditional MacBook Air computer market. Pixelbook Go. They got the not pink version, which I think looks okay. It's nice to see a sort of a color tone option. I wish we could get this in like a jewel tone green or in some kind of off blue. Not quite blue would be kind of fun. But 2 USB-C ports. They say it's got a phenomenal keyboard, which would be nice against how bad the MacBook Air keyboard is. An acceptable mouse pad. And that will probably see storage and configuration options with Core M3, Core i5, Core i7, up to 16 gigabytes of RAM, up to 256 gigabytes of storage, and up to a proper, they're calling it molecular 4K display with a touchscreen, which could be kind of cool. Like I can't give up a touchscreen on my laptops anymore. Even my traditional laptops, I need to have a touchscreen. So again, Chromebooks, they always catch that, like, you can't talk about a Chromebook without someone tripping over themselves to say, but it's not as functional. You lose out on a ton of functionality, which is true. Chrome OS is not as robustly full-featured as Mac OS or as Windows 10. But what we see from Apple is a very aggressive push towards getting people to pick up iPads. Like, iPad could be your next laptop replacement computer. Microsoft, very aggressively looking at streamlining Windows 10 to make folding, bending, clamshell style dual screen computers more effective. And I think that this could be, I don't think Chrome OS is going to suddenly start selling premium devices, but I think Google needs to show that they can make a nice computer. Like, they need to show that they can make a nice laptop. And then we'll get, an Acer, an Asus, a Samsung, a more reasonably priced computer under that tier. But, judged on hardware, it sounds like Pixelbook Go is going to be a competitive offering against a Surface laptop, right? I mean, like, if it's just hardware to hardware, like, that sounds like it's right. The amount of stuff in a Pixelbook Go versus the amount of stuff in a Surface laptop, like, that sounds like we're in the right price ballpark. What I'm going to be really curious to try, because this is running Chrome OS, but it's running Chrome OS on an x86 processor, I wonder if my Android content creation apps will run faster than when they run on ARM chipsets. So right now, do I have it here? Yes, I do. So I've got 2 phones here. I've set up a new video rendering benchmark after all of the angry iPhone fanboys who had their undies twisted up about me showing how the iPhone XS couldn't properly compete in video rendering against my iPhone SE and lost super bad in video rendering to my OnePlus 7 Pro. So I've come up with a new video rendering benchmark. Instead of rendering just one video, hold on, I'm going to adjust my timeline here. It's still 1 minute, rendered out to UHD at 30 frames per second at a 50 megabit per second bit rate, which is an economical bit rate for UHD video, good for streaming, kind of a bit rate. But instead of one clip and then just rendering that, I'm now using 6 clips with transitions, a watermark, and a soundtrack. So I think that this is a more robust test, and it taxes the hardware more to stitch all of this video and audio and do an overlay all together. Like, I think this is more representative of what you can do on a phone, and I'm still not even maxing out this stuff because you can chroma key and color correct on your phones now very, very well. So instead of just bar graph, I have this test because so many people are claiming this stuff is for content creators. So this new test in Power Director, which is slower than KineMaster, but I like working in Power Director, on a OnePlus 7T takes about 2 minutes to prep and to render. The actual render is really fast, but when you start doing all of this other stuff with overlays and transitions, PowerDirector does this prep render, pre-render before it actually gets into finishing your video. The OnePlus 7T can finish off this 1 minute clip, 50 megabit per second video, in just under 2 minutes. It's around 1:55. My LG V50 can finish that video in around 1:36. So it's about 20 seconds faster than my OnePlus 7T. My Huawei MateBook 13 with a Core i7 and fast flash storage and an NVIDIA MX graphics chip using desktop grade editing software to complete the same video at the same render quality. It's a 50 megabit per second UHD video at 30 frames per second. Takes 7 minutes. This phone finishes the video in 1 minute, 36 seconds with the prep pre-render. So it's 20 seconds faster overall than a OnePlus 7T. My MateBook takes 7 minutes to finish off that video. It's a 7-to-1 render time on this video test. I will be very curious to see if a Chromebook, if this Pixelbook Go with an x86 processor, but running an Android app, because you can run, PowerDirector Mobile on this Chromebook. If it can do that faster, then I have zero reason to take a thin, slim, light Windows laptop with me when I can get the same quality of punchy YouTube work done faster on the go. It doesn't mean that I'm going to say, oh, buy a Pixelbook Go if you want Chrome OS. I'm going to say Chromebooks might be faster than Windows for a variety of these mobile situations. So we'll have to see. DT Anil, are you telling me that my iPhone XS is not as fast as an LG? So here's the deal. If you're just looking at a video transcode, a basic video render, the iPhone XS running Luma Fusion, which is the best video editing platform for iOS, was slower at rendering 4K video than my LG V30 running PowerDirector. My LG V30 was faster at doing that video transcode than my iPhone XS. And I have a video of that, so shut up. I've already shown my work. You're just way behind. But yeah, I mean, like when we talk about power and what you really get out of these upgrades, Gary Explains did this, an iPhone XS versus iPhone 11 benchmark. Apple's showing these like 20% improvements. The reality of A12 to A13 is more like 4 to 6% improvement in real world usage. It's so much more complicated than just, I ran a synthetic benchmark and I got a bigger number. You got to actually look at this stuff. So getting back to Chrome OS, so many companies are pushing out mobile apps. Apple, I think they were too early to call the first iPad Pro a Pro, but when Adobe is taking mobile more seriously, Microsoft is looking at Windows on ARM. They're taking ARM chipsets more seriously. Android apps are finally starting to catch up to some of the content creation apps on iOS. I mean, there's some phenomenal audio recording software. You could look at Audio Evolution if you want to do multi-track recording with USB audio interface support on an Android handset. PowerDirector, KineMaster, Luma Touch. What's the other one that I'm forgetting? There's another one. Dang it. But anyway, I write my scripts in Microsoft Office, and the Microsoft Android apps are pretty good. I could make that transition over to a Chromebook, and I don't think I would lose too much of my current workflow. This stuff is now all starting to smear together. The lines between these different product segments are starting to blur pretty good. Kyle Ruggles. Pride sucks. I mean, again, as like, I don't want people to be team something. I will probably put some Team Pixel hashtags into posts when I review a Pixel 4, just so I can keep up with, Instagram hashtags and stuff. But it's never a good look to excuse the compromises of one platform and celebrate the pros of a different platform, all because your lifestyle has determined that one multi-billion corporation is better for you than another multi-billion dollar corporation, and your reasons are mostly emotional. I think that's always going to be a bad look. Ooh, Kyle Ruggles, can you use Magic Bullet on the phone? Neat video, etc. Like, I don't think those platforms are available yet, but that was one of the feature requests that I sent over to Power Director, where you can do some really some really cool audio manipulation. You can do multi-track audio in Power Director. You can line up video clips with B-roll and audio and do picture-in-picture, and so pre-render and transcode. Power Director Mobile was literally one of the first video editing programs on any platform that properly supported H.265 or HEVC and high-res audio. So like, if you're recording super crazy high-res audio on LG and you want to transcode that, or if you're pulling video off of a Huawei in HEVC, Power Director was one of the first. So again, I mean, like, there's a lot that is getting pretty good. We don't have, Kyle Ruggles is like, oh, do you have Twixtor? No, but there's plenty of really good stabilization. There's a proper stabilization plugin, chroma key plugin. You can do key mapping so that you can punch in, punch out, and they've got their own slow motion plugins. It's not quite as smooth as Twixtor for what you can do for manipulating that stuff. But if I take 60 frame per second footage, I run it through Google Photos to stabilize it, and then I speed ramp it out so that it's like a quarter speed, and then I render a 24 frame per second video, you're going to have a hard time telling me that that's stuff that I should do on a desktop instead. It works really well from the phone. So I'm not, again, I produce a very punchy and sort of newsy mobile journalism style of video. I'm not doing super cinematic work even on my desktop, but I don't lose much. In fact, I gain a lot of speed, even if the final video isn't quite as clean as what I can render from my desktop. So yeah, I'm not dismissing mobile. And if, I can only use Android apps on a Chromebook, Pixelbook could still be a pretty legit competitor. Again, for hardware that looks pretty clean. I mean, it has a good look to it. I wish we had another color option than just pink, or not pink, excuse me. That's how Google names their color options, but that's pretty cool. I hope we get some good information on when this might be coming out. The killer thing is going to be whether or not a Chromebook is really getting priced comparatively against a Windows PC. Like, I still will have issues if there's a premium for a Pixelbook Go over a Surface laptop. But if we're in that same ballpark, then I think Google will have the good example computer. Very few consumers are going to rush out and buy it, but they need to show that you can make a nice computer out of their software, and other manufacturers aren't going to do it for them. But then hopefully that highlights what you can do on a Chromebook, and then someone might consider an Acer, like a $300 Acer instead. Again, you get someone in the showroom. I love going to my Nissan dealership so I can check out like a GTR. I drive a Sentra. But I need to know that the manufacturer who built my Sentra can make a phone like a GTR. So yes, this is all true. Let me take another drink of water. There are so many comments here. I'm way behind. So Kyle Ruggles, there are so many steps though, but this is for you. But think about professionals. There's so many steps you have to take in order to make it mobile, though it may be faster rendering basic video really, but I get it. Mobile, it's immediate. Having a computer to do all this fancy-ish might be overkill. But just saying speed isn't always a thing. So many steps, apps, passing off data from one app to another. Sorry to sound snobby. But again, you're only comparing this against what you're familiar with. So when you take a photo with your camera, what do? Do you edit it in your camera? What do you do with the photos from your camera? You transfer them. You have to set up all of your own file management, organization, storage. Do you use the raw editing capabilities of the software that came with your camera? Did you invest copious amounts of time learning another platform? Are you Lightroom? Are you Photoshop? Are you doing any kind of graphics or design work on top of that? There is an accepted standard and a familiarity with popular services right now. But let's not pretend that somehow editing a photo on a computer is so much more streamlined than editing on a mobile device because we're unfamiliar with the apps and the services that we use on that mobile device. Think about all of the plugins that you just listed off for better video, right? Talking about Twixtor. You're talking about Twixtor. You have to learn and use video editing platforms to find the workflow that works for you. Maybe your Adobe, maybe your Vegas, maybe your Final Cut, maybe your DaVinci Resolve. But all of those are different and take time to learn. So once you've learned them, you're more inclined to stick with that workflow. I totally acknowledge that if you want to try and work mobile, you have to learn a different workflow. But once you learn that new workflow, I bet you'll find a process which actually gets you to a finished product as fast or faster if you're really leaning into the advantages of working mobile. That's the major difference. It's not PC is superior because somehow these tools are magically intuitive. PC is superior because it is the more flexible, and I'm saying PC loosely, obviously a Mac OS product or a Windows product, but a personal computer workstation, I still work in front of one for a lot of the videos that I cut. But 70-30, about 30% of my videos are now mobile produced. And I had to learn a new workflow and I had to figure out the kinks and I had to jump through some hoops and I had to work out some bugs. But now that I've got a workflow that makes sense to me, I'm as fast or faster when I'm producing out in the field. This notion of taking a laptop with me to cover a trade show is laughable. Even for Newegg, we were shooting probably about 20% of the footage from Computext was captured on mobile devices, as opposed to the really, really nice cinema grade cameras that we brought with us. This stuff is evolving really, really quickly. It still needs a little polish. But there's nothing stopping someone from developing a new workflow, figuring out the kinks, and arriving at the same quality of product that they might have put out in certain venues. And again, I'm mostly approaching this from editorial, from mobile journalism, from vlogging, field producing. I'm not looking at this as, like I'm going to cut a whole documentary on a phone, but I could. You're not far off. And you could probably do it with minimal disruption to a solid, the same sort of solid workflow that you'd work from a standard desktop. So, Kyle, because I love you like a brother, I would just ask that you don't confuse your decades of experience in your current workflow for intuitive. And I would just acknowledge that that's familiarity. And I think if you were to spend as much time as these tools evolve for mobile, that you could help drive the discussion of mobile and lend some of your expertise to improving these products and these services, that you would see a very, very fast path to you arriving at a very similar end result, working on a phone or working on a Chromebook or working on a tablet. Oof. I just bumped my desk. Oh, Kyle, I get you too, bro. I get you. Okay, so we're over. This podcast ran over. I feel like we got into some good discussions. So Pixel 4 event tomorrow. My air conditioner just turned off and it's already hot and smoky in this office. To me, like the last thing is just nailing down these prices. And again, it's the fingers crossed. Don't put out a Chromebook at $1,500. Don't put out the starting base model Pixel 4 at $1,000. Give me something to work with, Google. I'm leaning on you to just be any other option in the laptop or smartphone space. We all know that you're not going to instantly become, a top 5 manufacturer in the United States. But just help us out. Give us something to work with. Something that we can be excited talking about, even though these products have been leaked to death. So, do more. Pixel 4 starting at $999. So, the last thing that I want to talk about as I sort of smack my lips here, I'm so dehydrated. Again, it's smoke in the air and it's a little bit hotter and you just feel like all of the moisture. It's like Joe versus the volcano. I just feel like all of the moisture getting sucked out of my eyeballs. During the state of the Patreon, I got really cranky. I always get really cranky. I try and find the positive things and the things that I like to talk about and the things that make me happy. And so a part of the state of the Patreon was talking about how frustrating it's been to try and put together things like contests. When I started on Patreon, I goofed pretty hard. This was definitely a me mistake and not a platform being too restrictive. But I wanted to try and do like contests just for patrons. That is actually a big no-no with the FTC because Patreon is a paywall and contests need to have some element of no purchase necessary for contest entries. And the rules on contests are very strict. What you call a sweepstakes versus a contest versus a giveaway. There are like, I think 4 or 5 different tiers of how I can give a product to someone for some kind of interaction. And the disclosure on that is very, very tricky. YouTube has also complicated this by making it more difficult to promote plugins like Gleam that can help streamline some of the legwork in verifying that the contest entry contest entry requirements have been met, that people are eligible for a contest. And then you go through all of that work and it's very, very likely that you'll be giving away a product to someone who really isn't participating in good faith, or they're just a contest junkie, or you see their Twitter is just an egg profile picture and it's just nothing but contest link after contest link after contest link with 0 followers. Like, that's not a real person. And so I kind of had this like soul searching moment where there's got to be a way, because I like giving things away. I skipped doing a major giveaway for my birthday this year. I used to do like, I would reach out to a manufacturer and get like a sponsorship. Like, I used to have a really good relationship with Kingston and I just give out a ton of memory cards and flash drives. And like this whole climate of how we have to disclose things now. I mean, that's good. It is good that we do have to disclose things now, but it's so much more difficult to host a contest on YouTube. Like, if I have to do all of that legwork and verifying contest entries and verifying that someone is legally of age, and YouTube makes it more difficult for me to use a plugin to help manage that, the old school method of, I'm going to do this contest, promote my contest, tweet about my contest, and then I'll randomly draw someone, isn't fun. It's taxing and it's difficult, and it instantly hammers your metrics. For all the people who will, thumbs down your contest video because they didn't win, and it gets really super toxic. So I have decided that moving forward, when I have something fun to give away, I'm just going to randomly pick people that have been sharing and contributing and have been a part of the community. And what I'm going to do, it will be properly random. And I'm going to keep a list. Like, if you've won something, you can't win another thing for a year. But it's just going to be a random support plug. You've already been subscribed or tweeting. And most of this is going to be Twitter based, because Twitter is the easiest place for me to keep track of how and where and why people share content and engage. But maybe it's just going to be someone left me a funny comment and I have an extra Mega Pickle Mug and I'm just going to send it to them. But the major resource I'm going to lean on are people who are a part of the hashtag Share Squad. So when I put out a video, around 2 hours after I've put out that video, I just try and look at who were the people that helped me share that video, and we're trying to spread the word on what's going on. And again, I try and acknowledge like who's overseas and who's, in different time zones. But I'm just going to put all of those people in a bucket. And if I have something fun to give away, I'll pick one at random and I'll just send it to them. So to wrap up this podcast, over the last week, I've been getting amazing interactions with people on Twitter. The share squads have been phenomenal. Really, really appreciate all of the people that have been joining the conversation and all of the people that have been trying to help spread the word. And that kind of support is so much more meaningful to me than someone who's just going to tweet a contest link. So I picked at random, and Gary the Fireman is going to get a set of the olive green OnePlus wireless earbuds 2. So I'm going to reach out. Gary the Fireman, thank you so much for supporting this channel and supporting production on this channel and being a part of share squads and joining conversations. And I know he was in the live chat here for a bit. I don't know if he still is. But I got some extra OnePlus earbuds and they're going to be coming your way. So I'll reach out to you on Twitter. We'll DM and we'll see. We'll see. I just, I thought you'd like them. So, you were a part in the list. And Tana so lit. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can't do a good impersonation of Tana. So, I'm not gonna pre-promote. If I have something fun to give away, I'm just gonna pick someone who's been a part of this community. I'm just gonna pick someone who's already been talking and sharing and promoting. Gary the Fireman is still in the... Gary, congratulations. So yeah, and they are the olive green OnePlus buds, which I don't even know are yet back in stock on OnePlus.com. So I'll reach out to you on Twitter and I'll get your shipping info, try and get them in the mail in the next day or two. I want to thank people who really are genuinely a part of this community. I want to promote and share with people that like getting into these kinds of conversations. And I'm not going to put any schedule out there. Like, I'm not going to say, we're going to have a giveaway every week. But, if I get a review phone and I'm not going to keep that phone, why should it just be on my desk or on my bookshelf gathering dust if someone else can use it? If I get an extra pair of earbuds or headphones, I promise I will not send out something that has gotten my earwax all dug inside of it. But... there will be opportunities for me to give some of that other stuff away. And then also just, like if I'm just really taken with someone's effort or someone's gesture, like why not hook up like a Mega Pickle Mug, something that I can accessibly or easily get out there. So, yeah, thank you for being a part of this community. I want to find ways to show that appreciation. And I feel like this is probably the best way forward, is just doing double secret probation contests and giveaways and not using a contest as a way to try and boost my stats, to try and boost my numbers, because we don't get real participants that way. We don't really find people in those contests that want to talk about tech because they really like tech. We find people that just want more contests. And we don't need that grief in our community. We need people that have each other's backs in our community. That's what we need. So, from Steve, I'm voting that Matt Tyler receives a Mega Pickle Mug if he hasn't yet. So I have an order out for Matt Tyler. He will be getting a Mega Pickle Mug. I'm in between printings. So I forget what the name of the service I use is. They print in batches. So I'm hoping I got his address. I got his shipping details. I'm hoping that'll be out sometime this week, but Matt will be getting a Mega Pickle Mug. So yes. And Matt Tyler, I feel like a winner, always helping, promoting, gifting subs. You guys are the best. And Gary the Fireman, a genuinely good guy. And Share Squad, keep being awesome. And yeah, Abimuri 96, Abhimaria, I am so sorry. Stealth contests. Well, let's call them stealth giveaways, because the participation requirements are care about tech and participate. And when I have something cool to give away, I will pick at random and I'll keep a list of people with dates so that, it's not like someone is just always winning because they're always sharing the most. We'll keep this as honest as we can, but I'm so tired of trying to use contests as some sort of way to gin up better looking stats. Doesn't do it for me. Not excited by that at all. So Sentinel909, can I order a Mega Pickle Mug? You absolutely can. If you head over to SomeGadgetGuy.com and you click on the support banner, there are links for where you can order your own Mega Pickle Mug in black with green text or in green with black text. And you'll also be helping to support production on this channel. All right, folks, I'm going to finish sipping on this. And up high H on Periscope, I'm glad you enjoyed the podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Tana so lit. I'm getting the mug as well. Let's go. Again, Tana so lit, another really fun. I like his live streams because he swears more in his videos than I do in mine. So if you want the potty mouth talk, you got to hook it up. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm going to work on doing my impersonation of your affirmation. I try and keep my podcast PG to PG-13, which means I'm only allowed one F-bomb when I really mean it. So folks, let's go ahead and wrap this all up. This was an important podcast for me, just because I wanted to share some of that behind the scenes. There's a lot more of that happens on the Patreon, but I feel it's important that we're always keeping you all sort of abreast of what's going on, when we're hitting burnout, when we're trying to make some changes so that this stuff doesn't take you by surprise. And it's always with the most heartfelt thanks that people are still game to help share those parts of the discussion and share those parts of the commentary, because I feel like we get a little out of touch sometimes. I have to work really hard sometimes at trying to rein myself back in or consider another point of view, or not just getting buried too deep in my own experiences, because then I become less effective. And it's communities like those of you in the live chat right now that keep me honest, that help me bounce ideas off of. And when I say community, I really want that to be understood, that I really do need, and I really do value the people around me that help contribute to this discussion. Because I didn't get into this just to sort of be a monolithic streamer. Let me tell you how to spend your money. Let me tell you what I think. I got into this because I thought every video would be like a forum post, and then we'd have a conversation about that after I put out the video. So, again, thank you so much. This live chat, amazing. I really do appreciate everybody that contributes and that participates to whatever degree that they can. Every tweet that shares helps because we live in a popularity algorithmic environment. So please know that I see it. I try to react to it. I try to respond to it. And everyone I see is appreciated. So let's keep that conversation going. There are going to be a bunch of videos coming out. I have the camera review. It's going to be a shorter form camera review for the V50 because of some of the similarities between the V40 and the G8. I'm not going to be doing the same half-hour long camera deep dive, but that's going to be going out to the Patreon. I'm going to have the OnePlus 7T video, the review, the phone review coming out publicly. We're going to have some Pixel 4 news tomorrow, so I hope you guys are around the social medias and listening to me get all cranky on Twitter, because I'm probably going to be tweeting about that too. But I hope to be going hands-on with the Pixel 4 very, very soon. And if I have anything else in this office that I feel like I should get rid of to a deserving member of the community, I'll keep you posted on the socials when I might be giving something away. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for participating. And you know where you can find me next week, another Monday morning tech chat show. I want you to be awesome with your technology. I want you to do awesome with your technology. I want